Welcome back to Reels with Laura. I love teaching confirmation, and I want everyone else who teaches confirmation to absolutely love it too. So today, I'm encouraging you to hold students accountable. As we talk about it, keep in mind the purpose and the goal that you created in the very first episode as you make your decisions for all of these reels. It's very important that you do that. So, the very first thing that I need to say about accountability is that you need to constantly remind yourself that you are teaching the most important thing these kids will learn in their lifetime. You are teaching the faith. This is a matter of life and death. And it's our responsibility as teachers of the faith to hold them accountable. It's very important that we figure out how to do that. So, expectations and accountability are very closely related. You can't have students reach your expectations if you don't hold them and sometimes their parents accountable. We have requirements for these programs for a reason, and the parents need to know what they are and why you have them, and the kids need to know what they are and why you have them. So, expectations. Make sure that everyone is on the same page. This is a big deal. Never, never, never assume they know what you expect. Doesn't matter if they had a kid last year or 3 years ago or this is their first time. You got to give them the information every year as a reminder. I start sharing what I expect at the kickoff meeting at the beginning of every year. And okay, so now standards. So many pastors have said to me, how can I have standards for a voluntary class? Well, first off, and very importantly, middle school students need you to hold them accountable. They need it. They can't do it themselves, and their parents are unaware of a lot of what's going on. They don't come to class with a strong desire to learn the six chief parts of the Christian faith. They come because their parents make them come. If they had a choice, they wouldn't. They're kids. And they don't mind it or don't hate it because they've got friends there. So we're learning how to teach better, and they've got friends. It's not the worst experience in the world. From day one in that class, you need to set the tone of accountability. So, in a voluntary class, what does accountability actually look like? Well, the first thing it looks like, believe it or not, are checklists and progress reports. It's true. That is also what I like to call data. It's information. Checklists are simple ways to keep track of what students get done. I suggest that you have three of them: one for assigned work, one for memory work, and one for attendance. And I keep the attendance separate because sometimes I just want to show here's the attendance. You were gone on these days, and that is really important. Now, let's talk about the assigned work. That would be notes, class learning activities, or worksheets, projects, or anything that they might have to do at home. And you need to be able to see and track that they're doing the work to a standard. It's not just, oh, how many times have I gotten a worksheet back where you can tell they put in no effort? They just threw some answers on there, and they don't expect me to do anything about it. Here it is, I got it in. They can show their mom, it's done. Well, it's not done to a reasonable standard. It does nobody any good to put in little effort and get away with it. If they know that you're not going to keep track or call them on it, they won't put in much effort because they don't need to. And you have no proof then that they did or didn't do it if you can't check it off or give it a little bit of a rating. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I've heard stories of kids who did nothing all year and couldn't answer even the simplest questions when it came to confirmation Sunday. And you want data to support that situation, my friend. His parents wanted him confirmed anyway. And the pastor said, no, I'm not going to confirm him. And that's something else we're going to talk about a little bit. Sometimes the easiest thing you can do is show them the number of zeros or low scores that indicate little effort, work, or something not handed in or completed at all. And, I hate to say it, but there are parents these days that blame the teachers and support whatever stories their kids tell. Data, my friends, data is your friend. So, low scores? I know you heard that. They have low scores? Wait, I can hear you thinking that you don't want to grade a bunch of papers. And confirmation isn't about passing, it's not about grading, it's about understanding. Right, that's true. And you don't need to grade anything, just a simple checklist will do. So, you can either do a simple zero. I use zeros all the time because zero means you didn't do it. Just didn't even bother to do it, didn't hand it in. Otherwise, it's a minus, a check, and a plus. And those are really easy because they just tell me when I'm looking at my checklist that, all of these worksheets are not done to a check mark. A check mark is fine. It means you put in some effort. Putting in minimal effort for everything isn't going to do it, or not completing it isn't going to do it either. Sometimes I use a scale of 1 to 5 points. My quizzes, my quick quizzes, and my notes quizzes, which I'll talk about later, notes quizzes are really great. If the kids know you're doing those, they change everything. A zero, again, 1 to 5 points. You get a zero if you didn't do it. 1, you got a few done, put in minimum effort, little effort, very little. Or a 3, about half effort, half done. 5, total effort, great effort, all done. If you really want to get detailed, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4 points. And then that gives you more information. A checklist just makes it a lot easier to show a student or parent exactly what they have done or haven't done. So if you put your legend or let the kids know, everybody needs to know, like I said, be on the same page. If you put your legend in the parent letter as well as on any progress report and let them know it's not a grading system, it's a completion system, you should be fine. You're not saying you're not grading the responses other than, okay, that's a response to that question. Sometimes the responses are not to the question. And I just write a little note, please read the question. That's all it takes. And I also put that note in my checklist. At the end of each unit, I have kids open their notebooks during the warm-up, and I just walk around the class and make sure they've got all their notes done. And you don't have to do that if you do a notes quiz once in a while to make sure that they've got the answers in their notes. But it's super easy. And if they've been absent, it's their responsibility to get the notes from a friend. Just knowing you're going to look, again, encourages them to follow through. It's a great thing. Accountability is just really helpful. Also, again, if you give quick quizzes or notes quizzes, which I do recommend, and then you want to know which students are passing them or not passing them, simply because it shows you who's getting it or not getting it, or doesn't seem to understand, perhaps aren't listening, or aren't doing the work or taking the notes. Are they participating? Sometimes you want to have a participation checklist. Some people are talking all the time, some aren't. You want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to speak and you're not picking on the same ones every time. As far as the memory work checklist, I don't know if you have parents check off, but sometimes that's maybe not so accurate. If the parents say the kids can do it and they get to class and they can't do it, there's issues there. But whether you have students say it or write it, a checklist is essential for tracking completed memory work. Checklists tell them that you expect them to do the work. If you don't act like it's important, they won't either, and neither will their parents. Now, pastors often say that they don't have any leverage. If the kids don't do the work, there's nothing they can do about it. But that's not exactly true. You do have leverage, and it's powerful leverage. The first step is the parents themselves. I'm guessing we've all had challenging parents, but more often than not, parents don't know that their child isn't doing the work. So communication is your friend. Let them know. If a student hasn't handed work in twice in a row, or if they haven't done their memory work for 2 weeks in a row, it's time to let the parents know they're falling a bit behind. Don't wait until they're too far behind and catching up gets to be a real challenge. Also, that's where the progress reports come in. Middle of the year, I always do a progress report. I have samples of those on my website, teachthefaith.org, in the confirmation section. Your greatest leverage is that you don't have to confirm anyone. Now, this is huge leverage, and it is a last option. And it's a tough one because nobody wants to go there. Nobody wants to tell a kid or a parent that their child can't be confirmed, especially because they just didn't do the work. But think of it this way. If they don't put in the work to learn about their faith, if they can't show that they have thought about it and have some understanding of it, then what exactly are they confirming? Now, I hope there's a final project, that everybody has a final project. I know some people still do the questioning Sunday. There's going to be a reel about these final projects too. Doesn't have to be that. Could be a paper, could be another activity. We'll talk about it so that they can share their faith with the congregation in some way. I personally think that's extremely valuable, not only for them to be able to share it, but because then they have to figure out how to organize it in their heads. And I've got all kinds of help for that to make sure that they can do it, because a lot of pastors, you just don't know what kids this age can do. So I'm going to help you with that. Not confirming a child should be decided with the parents after a couple of meetings where they've been reminded of the requirements, but the work or effort has not changed. And after those meetings, the conversation should shift to whether or not the child is ready to be confirmed. This is a big deal. It's not that they're just not going to be confirmed or they're losers and didn't get the work done. It's that maybe they're just not ready. And so it's not, think about it. It's not required for salvation. He or she maybe just doesn't seem interested in confirming their faith at this time, and they can try again in the future. It's not the end of the world. And then you simply ask, well, what do you think? It's great if the child is there also to be a part of this decision. So everybody can say, well, can you do it? You think you can get the work done? Can you do this? If you can't do this, then let us know now. And, I'm just saying, sometimes the kids aren't ready. And sometimes it's about they don't want to do the work. Sometimes it's about they're not sure they want to be confirmed. Maybe they're having questions about what they believe. There's all kinds of reasons. At that meeting, those can all come out and be discussed. And you might see a really great turnaround in the kid. Remember, wanting what's best for the child and holding them, all of them, to expectation should never make you feel bad. Anything about the Bible, these are the most important things they will ever learn. And so we should not be too ready to just say, oh, it doesn't matter. I'll just confirm the kid anyway. No, give it some effort. Hold them accountable. One of the things that really helps, or there are two things, it's praise. You can do written or verbal praise. And that is, the written is easy because I've talked about it before. With the sermon notes, you can write things on the paper, really good comment, or I like this, or nice work, or good question. And you can also say those things in class. If somebody asks a good question, you can say, hey, that's a really good question. You can also say, somebody had a good comment on their sermon notes last week. Can I share it? Sam or whoever it was, can I share it? And probably Sam will glow. He will be so proud of himself. And that's really great. You can also, if there's a good question, anybody want to answer that one? That's a really great question. Anybody have an answer for that before I step in? See what they have to say. Just make sure that you don't comment on the same kids all the time, that you don't always praise the same students over and over, or write something where they like, oh, he always writes that. Don't do that. Actually read the responses and consider them. I was amazed at how much better answers I got, or responses I got, on the sermon notes when I talked about it. I talked about it in class, and I wrote responses on their papers. It was amazing what some of these kids were thinking about. So, friends, don't lower the standard or the expectations to the students. Don't say, oh, they can't do it, and bring them down. Never in my many years of teaching middle and high school have the students not risen to the expectations. They will and they can. Raise the students to the standard. All right, as you know, I'll be making more reels all summer. They'll be on my website. They'll be posted on Facebook. I don't know about Instagram. I'm still struggling with that. I don't even know. Don't talk about it. And they'll be on YouTube. You can watch them in any order after the first one. Share them with a friend. Have a popcorn party. Stay tuned for what's coming up. Sermon notes are coming up. Parents are coming up. Classroom management, I'm sure that's going to be a favorite, and more. If you have any questions, you can find me at teachthefaith.org/confirmation. Until then, Lord, may the Spirit of God work through us to be the best teachers of the faith that we can be for the kids, for us, for the church, and for the world. May they grow in God's truth and grace. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm Laura Langhoff Arndt, author of the book, The Art of Teaching Confirmation, and I'll see you next time.